Hi everyone, thanks for watching this video today with me. I'm making this video because somebody has asked me specifically recently, but I get this question a lot. I think this is a big concern, and this is what's really important to us, isn't it? To build new relationships again after we have or come out of these abusive relationships. So the title says narcissistic relationships, and it's a big difference between the actual personality disorder. Narcissistic people, if you're in a narcissistic relationship, say in your childhood, if your parents are narcissistic, it's really, it's imbalance, it's unequal, it's more the attention is focused on one person than the other, or the relationship in whole. So we're coming out of these narcissistic relationships, and it could be with anybody who's narcissistic, right? That's abusive. Emotional abuse is the worst. It's traumatic. It becomes traumatic to us over time and repetitively. This could be anybody that is like this. So borderline, histrionic, sociopath, somebody who doesn't even have a personality disorder, okay? Want to be clear with that. So this is a trauma response. A trauma response, very commonly, we have a lot of self-doubt. We have a lot of distrust in people, in the system. We carry some guilt and shame. And that causes low self-worth. And we have confidence issues, okay? Because our confidence comes from our past experiences. And if we have failed relationships that have been abusive and traumatic, we can't possibly have confidence to start a new relationship. And that's why I'm being asked these questions. I want to be clear, first of all, I'm not a doctor, not a therapist, just a life coach. And so I want to just always state that. I don't think I say that enough. Some people may think I say it too much, but I don't think enough. I want to be clear. I have to say that if we're in narcissistic relationships and abusive, toxic relationships, and we may have a lot of other things going on, so I have to state that it's always a good idea to check in with a therapist, a doctor, psychologist, somebody who can identify other issues you may have. Often emotional abuse, traumatic relationships over time often cause PTSD or a form of it, c-ptsd. These are stress disorders. These kinds of relationships, and it's just important to know you could have these problems before the relationships. These might be lifelong issues you've had, maybe since even childhood. Very common. PTSD alone is like an umbrella term. We can display the symptoms of or actually have these other illnesses and disorders like anxiety disorders, depression, eating disorders, other things like obsessive compulsive disorder, ADD or ADHD. We might have autism, might be on that spectrum, could have addiction disorders. Very common, we could have autoimmune diseases and may not know it. We're finding out now, studies are finding out that this type of abuse, especially in childhood, is what may be causing these autoimmune diseases. So first thing I want to say is take some pressure off yourself and do what's healthy after any failed relationships, especially abusive relationships and dependency. Take a break. Take your time. There's no pressure. People like us tend to respond to pressures, outside pressures of society's expectations, maybe our parents' expectations, our other friends and our classmates if we're in school, all these kinds of pressures of what we should do. And it doesn't matter. What matters is us, how we feel, what we want, what we need, okay? So if we're feeling pressure to date and we're so scared to date, don't date yet. Okay, do that to yourself. Take a break from dating. Say, I'm not going to date right now. Give yourself a time. Can you go 2 days, 3 days, months? So that being said, I'm going to get into some reasons why we begin relationships, new ones, too soon. Why do we start dating after a toxic, abusive relationship? Things like this, okay? Let's cover that first. So grief. I talk a lot about this, and I talk about all these things in all of my other videos, so feel free to go check them out. There's hundreds and hundreds of videos I've made. I have playlists where you can learn about healing c-ptsd, you can learn about different personality disorders, okay? And I have a question and answer video every week. You can ask me anything you want. Grief, loss. A lot of people are confused with this. I don't care that I lost my abuser. Well, you lived with him, her, married to them, maybe, woke up to them every day. They took a lot of space and time in your life. So grief is loss. It's not so much the value of the loss as much as it is the time and space it took in our lives. Relationships being the biggest, okay? We can grieve people that we may not love or may not like even, okay? But it's a loss. We must recognize this. We must replace the loss. Very important is when we're grieving bad loss, we need to try to replace it. Remember that it's space and time, not the object or the person. Objects can be okay. I lost my car. I'm going to go buy a new car. But we lost a person or a relationship. Let's go replace that person real quick with a new person. No. Big mistake. So many of us, too many of us are making. So we don't replace that loss with someone else. You can replace it's space and time. So you can start a new hobby. The biggest one is always exercise, things like this. Lost self. So I'm not going to go into every detail about all these things. You can ask questions or watch more videos or look it up. But we have a lost core self we've lost in these relationships. Very common. Even short ones. Okay? We may not have a very fully developed consciousness or awareness of ourself before this. So we lost ourself, and some of the parts that we lost, biggest part we didn't get were our emotional needs. Most important thing in the world. That's why I preach this. It's the thing. Deprivation of what we need. Emotional needs, most important thing in our life. And here we have relationships and toxic people, especially narcissists and borderlines and sociopaths. They will not meet your emotional needs. They are absolutely incapable for so many different reasons. They won't do it. They have no idea. So if you're in a relationship with somebody, now you're not getting your needs met, and that's major stress. But this deprivation, okay, if you go back to children, and this is what makes children more susceptible to being a victim to other predators. What children don't get at home, what they need and they don't get, they tend to stray somewhere else to find it because they don't know how to give it to themselves yet. Emotional security and connection and privacy and these kinds of things, okay? Attention. So if we're not fully mature, we kind of tend to do that. If we're in a dependent relationship, which these become, then we tend to stray somewhere else for what we need without giving it to ourselves, and we tend to just immediately go to somebody else. That is another aspect of this, very important. Lost self equals, coming out of these relationships, equals depression. Grief causes depression. I'll get into that in a second, but anxiety, okay? A good sign that you're low in self-consciousness and self-awareness is depression, anxiety, feelings of being alone and loneliness and boredom, right? Because you always have yourself. Imagine if you felt this way with another person, that you always felt depressed and anxious and alone and lonely with them, and you felt bored with them. Not great company. Well, what about yourself? And we may go search somewhere else to find that, okay? Dependent relationships, dependency, tend to offer a sense of protection and safety. Maybe not so much in it, but it's afterwards. Dependent relationships give us this sense of that we need it, or when it's over, we must have it, and it's that protection, feeling protected and safe. And this could be emotionally, definitely, and physically, right? A female can feel more safe with a man. Even men can feel more safe with just humans. We feel safer. Big thing there. We also may have some emotional regulation issues ourselves, because that's a big symptom of PTSD and trauma. Regulating our emotions. You may find that the relationship or the dependency, the person there helps that. Calms a little bit. Until they're abusing you. So here's the biggest, okay, and I'm almost done, before I get into some of the aspects on the actual question, the title. The biggest reason people start relationships too soon after relationships, toxic relationships, the biggest is because we need help. We need help. And it's easier to start new relationships than stop and look at ourselves, because introspection can really hurt after failure, after abuse, after loss. And it's just easier to just not look at yourself and not get the help you need and start a new relationship, and you are set up for disaster. Absolute disaster. And it keeps getting worse. Worse. These don't get easier or better as we get older. They get worse. So, the biggest, the reasons we have these fear of dating, okay? Again, besides all the stuff I listed coming out of these relationships, because a lot of you might have done these things. You've given yourself help, you've given yourself time, you feel better, things like this, and you believe and feel that you're ready to date again, but why am I still scared? So confidence, we don't have the confidence, right? Children don't have any confidence. A baby just born can't possibly have any confidence. Why? They don't have any experiences. And it doesn't have to be success. It could be just, it went okay, I'm willing to try it again. So our experiences are awful. And we may have had a couple of good relationships and friends, decent family, and some of them, But man, I'm telling you, this stuff roots from childhood, and we don't have good experiences from childhood, and we may not be fully aware of that yet. We need to be. And the last relationship we just had was absolutely a horrible, horrible experience. Pain and hurt that we couldn't take and couldn't handle. Trauma. And now we're trying again. So we don't have the confidence, okay? Big time. So my recommendation, what we need to do is start small, okay? So the best thing to do is start maintaining your current relationships. And this is where we can learn to have relationships. Even if it's a good person, relationships can always be better and maintain better and meet each other's needs more and have better open communication, be vulnerable more. So if we have some relationships, we may not. These relationships tend to isolate us from others. So we may not coming out of this, but if we do, let's start maintaining those, okay? And then we concentrate on new friends first, associates, contacts, friends, okay? And then we build up to an intimate, committed relationship with someone else. We learn how to have healthy relationships. We learn how to. That will help with confidence. Like children, as parents, we want children to have the courage to try. We encourage them to at least try without any past experiences of success and with the fear. But with some of the encouragement, have some courage and have some people there supportive you, willing to try. And it's okay to fail. So if it's okay to fail, and if it's okay to be hurt again, because the hurt last time wasn't as bad as it was in the beginning, because I'm healed now, not so scared, okay? And here's a very important part. We need to learn how to trust you, trust yourself, okay? So what we do, and this is another part of therapy that's so important, this is really difficult to do by yourself, because you may not know. These are about skills and stuff. So we really need a professional to help us do this. Red flags. We concentrate on red flags, right? So we go back to our old abusive relationships. We go back to where it started too. Oh, there were signs. There was red flags. Okay, now I know. Okay. What's important is, what did you do to get to where you got, right? And what do you want to do next time? How do you want to handle this? A lot of it is self-worth. I'm worthy enough to do that, to try. But do you know? It's not just walk away, run away. No. You start doing that in every relationship when you have a problem, because every relationship has problems. Okay? And then the last thing you do, you just trust again. You just do it, because the only way to trust somebody is to trust someone. And we've got to. We need to. We can't sell ourselves short and deprive the world of you, right? Let us enjoy you and have relationships with you too. Ask questions, everybody. Please keep asking questions. I'll always answer them. I got the weekly question answer video every Monday, and you can ask me anything you want there, and I answer it every single Monday. If you can, I appreciate it. If you can vote on this video up or down, subscribe down below, and share this video with someone else. I'd appreciate your support. Thank you very much. Love yourself first, and I'll see you again later. Bye-bye.